Welcome back to Seed Money. Today we've got our second part with Shane Pope and his startup Remy, which is basically an app that uses AI for mental wellness. And today's episode is with Brian Bell, and he is the host of the Ignite Startup podcast and also the managing partner of Team Ignite Ventures, which is a VC firm that backs early stage startup investments. And among that are entrepreneurs in the AI space. So I think he's going to be, and I think he has some mental wellness experience in that area.
I have at least one in the portfolio.
One. Yeah. So I think this is going to be fun.
That I know of.
That you know of, right? Yeah. Maybe another. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to go through, we thought this would just be really helpful for not only Shane, but also the audience. I think it's, we talk all the time about how does a VC view a deck, and it's really nice to get some, real live feedback. Huge props to Shane for putting himself out there, not always easy to do. So we're here to be supportive, but also I think constructive, real feedback. That's what he's looking for.
We're going to rip it apart.
It's going to be terrible. For sure. That's what I'm here for. Bring it on.
Get shredded. Yeah. So anyway, follow Brian, follow Shane on LinkedIn. We'll include their links to everything down in the bottom.
Don't follow me on LinkedIn.
You put good stuff out. What are you doing?
Don't do it.
You put great stuff out. Okay, let's take it away. And you guys are both in the Bay Area. We just mentioned that, which is kind of cool.
Technically I'm
Shane,
halfway
Brian,
to Tahoe from the Bay, but more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. Give yourselves a quick intro, quick background that anything I didn't cover. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. So I'm from Seattle, first decade finance, Wall Street, real estate, all that stuff. Second decade, bunch of startups, and ran demand gen teams for a few, product for a few more, tried a couple of my own. Got deep in AI, led the AI category at AWS, launched a SageMaker marketplace there. So pretty versed in AI for the last 15 years. And then led all the categories on the Azure marketplace team, and realized I was having a lot more fun helping founders and playing Game of Thrones at Microsoft. So I angel invested for a couple of years, and that turned into our syndicate Team Ignite, which turned into funds. We're now raising and investing out of Fund 3. We do pre-seed and seed, mostly B2B software, AI, fintech marketplaces, but we're kind of agnostic. We don't do biotech. So, the founders love Team Ignite because, we have 300 portfolio companies that you can collaborate with. We help with fundraising. We have over 2,000 VCs in the database that help us fundraise for our startups. And Team Ignite now is almost 13,000 people that help to ignite our startups. And these are tech execs and operators, founders, LPs, partners, consultants, things like that. And as you mentioned, we have the podcast and the blog that help amplify our message for our founders and help them get media amplification. So that's a little bit about us.
Amazing. Very cool. Okay, Shane.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I kind of stumbled my way into the startup world. I was, on my career path. I was in sales. I never really found my footing and found the role that just like filled me up completely. I was thinking about different things and looking at different parts of the company and just always trying to solve problems that were not my job to solve. And in my free time, was just kind of like studying the brain and the mind and the soul and how it all connects, peak performance and athletes and just like all these different things. And then AI comes along and I'm learning that. And I start to just get really just curious and start using these tools. And I kind of came to this realization that my favorite way to use AI was to get AI to ask me questions instead of me asking it questions and giving me information, like it asking me questions so I can unpack things. And so that led to the creation of my tool, Remy, which is an AI app designed to do exactly that. You go in with a situation and it walks you through a 7-question process to get you able to process. Cause I just have this belief that we have too much in our heads. We have too much information going in, not enough going out. And so, Remy is my first app and it's been fun. It's exciting. It's a cool journey.
Okay. So Brian, how do you want to start? How would you typically kick off a meeting with an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I mean, I'd typically do the round of intros. I'd say, hey, how much you know about us? And I'd give it pretty much the intro you just heard verbatim. And then I'd let them kind of give an intro, which he just did. And then, the first piece of feedback that I would give is typically I would have your name here on the cover. Okay. Like who's going to be presenting it. It always should be one founder, by the way. It should never be all founders. It should just be the main founder, the CEO typically. CTO or your co-founder should be so busy they can't come talk to a VC, by the way. So I would have like your name here, your contact info, stuff like that.
Cool.
But overall, I'm a big fan of dark mode, by the way. You'll see my websites in dark mode. So huge fan of dark mode.
Cool.
And we can.
How do you feel about like a tagline? Like, do you like a tagline, or do you think it just kind of just have the company name? Or
yeah, I think you could improve it. A new category of mental wellness. I mean, everybody's like next gen, new category, next gen, whatever. So like I'd almost plug the whole deck into ChatGPT and have it brainstorm like 25 different taglines for you that are really impactful to investors, that if they read it and took nothing else away, that's what they would take away.
Got it. I like that. All right. So next slide is the problem slide. We've never been more advanced or more broken. Our ratio of inputs to outputs has skyrocketed exponentially in the modern world. I kept it more kind of philosophical. I think there's an opportunity to get more tangible of like numbers and like, this is the specific problem, burnout is this, or different categories of like stats, as opposed to more philosophical. But curious your thoughts there too, for sure.
You've done a good job here of like keeping it very high level. I think if you go look at like YC deck teardowns, and they're the best in the industry, they churn out 500 or 600 startups a year, and they're really good at making these 10 to 15 slide decks that are very simple. This is a very it's almost like too simple, which is a really good problem to have. Like typically I see the complete opposite. It's 250 words, it's multiple paragraphs. So I think you've done a really good job here of just keeping it really, really simple. But the problem here, I think what VCs are looking for is like, it's a wide-ranging problem. People are trying to solve it in some way now. It's inefficient, and there's a better way. And it's an order of magnitude better than the way it is now. So like in mental health, it's like there's a stigma attached to getting therapy. It's costly. It's $150 a session or more or less. And, there's also this like gating factor of like the friction of having to go find a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, how do I pay for it? And what does insurance cover? And is this therapist good or not? And can I really open up to this person? Will I really connect with this person? And so I think it's like a lot of VCs will look for like, oh, this is like an order of magnitude better. So you're kind of setting up your problem side for the solution side, which is like, hey, therapy is costly. There's a better way to do this. Maybe like a chart or a piece of data that proves the problem would be helpful here too. Like, mental health, some stat about mental health is going up and to the wrong way, right? Like more suicide attempts, more loneliness, more whatever, that whole.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of like describe the problem, but then there's like room for like one more punch of like, and here's the problem. Like the problem is our inputs to outputs, the ratio skyrocketed, and like that actually is showing up in this way, like chart of like anxiety's up or depression's up or these different things, like burnout is up, sick
charts.
days.
The Economist has these beautiful little charts.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's somebody that has like this really nice, like in the last 20 years, loneliness is at an all-time high and depression's at an all-time high and whatever. I'm sure you can find some stat. This is a huge problem. By the way, there were some companies that solved this with just software like Headspace and Calm, but it didn't do enough, right? That's another aspect of the problem. Like, so there's lots of different ways.
It's been attempted to be solved, but they've fallen short in these ways.
Yeah, these are billion-dollar companies, right? So we're seeing dollar signs as VCs, right? We're trying to say, wow, this is a big problem. 100 and something million people have this. They'll all pay $20 a month for it or whatever it is. That's a multi-billion-dollar business. It's a huge market. It's a huge problem. That's kind of what we're looking for here.
Got it. So there's like a quantifiable.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like
something that
there's a problem side, which I think we're talking about. And then I'm kind of like drifting into like the TAM slide and stuff like that, which you might have.
Yeah. Which is kind of the next slide. We can jump right to that. Cause I kind of do that a little bit in terms of like, I talk about a competitor of mine. I don't know if they would consider, I don't even think they know it exists, but like I see them as a competitor that they've looked to address the same market. and they've raised $94 million pre-revenue to do so.
Wow.
And so that was kind of my attempt to like, because I think there's quantifying the market in terms of like, this is a $12 million market because, or $12 billion, mission, we can jump back. But, to the next one would be the one that I was talking about. There we go. Because I think there's like, this is a $12 billion market, the wellness app market. But my thought was more like, let's just point to a specific company that's addressing a similar problem and has raised a bunch of money already. And then I just feel like, and I'm curious your thoughts, especially on this part, but like, I think a lot of the opportunity in AI right now is just like approaching it fundamentally differently, like just approaching the problem from a completely different perspective, and not completely different because nothing's completely different. But yeah, I think
No, I
that
think
like,
that's important. No, I think what you said is important, which is it should be completely different. So that's the question that's going to ring through my mind as a VC right away on this opportunity slide is like, oh, 94 million. Like, wow, they're really well capitalized here. How are you going to catch up and, compete here? Then the other question so this opportunity side actually creates more questions than it answers. Because another question I have
is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
Bad. It's bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Like as somebody that has literally talked to ChatGPT about, my marriage problems or whatever, like, oh, what's going on with this and what should I do here? Like you're going to have to answer that question for VC. Now I have two big questions, which is like, oh, you have a competitor that's really well capitalized. How are you different and how are you going to compete? And then two, when ChatGPT is free and Gemini is free and Claude is free, how can you compete with free? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that in the mental wellness space, I think in some ways raising that amount of money can be a deterrent and can slow you down. And I think the other big component is that this company specifically, they're building their own foundational model from scratch, whereas I'm building off of the foundational models that already exist. And so I think from like a model perspective, my mindset is more like, let's go really fast. Let's use what's already there. Let's build products that we know people want to use or we find out they want to use, and we get them into hands faster with unit economics that make more sense from earlier on, and just build more sustainably. Because right now their app is completely free, whereas I'm going to be building a premium version in these next couple of weeks. And then my plan is to go B2B and sell that as a benefit. And so if their app is completely free, then if we can start getting into the corporate world, get some marquee logos, then we can really start to kind of like a David versus Goliath. We can move a lot faster. We can maneuver without the kind of like big commitment of building a foundational model at the earliest stages.
Yeah, I don't like those answers, honestly.
Okay.
I'm just like no sugarcoating for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, because more money does not make you move slower. It's going to make you move faster. And they already have a competitive technical moat in that they're either building their own foundation model, forking some open source one and fine tuning it or whatever it is. So I think you have to answer like, VCs are going to want to really know what the technical, like what the moat is here. So that maybe there's another slide there, but that would be another question in my framework as I sort of evaluate is I'm like, how will this transform how it's done and create a moat that's sustainable over time? That's the kind of the question I'm asking myself. So.
Got it. And so I'm good. No, I was going to say, I think, because how do you think about like time horizon? Because if I view the opportunity to build the technical moat as a longer term play, that I do want to get to that point, building my own model, building that technical moat on all the different things that I see.
That's a better answer. See?
Yeah. How do you include, I just don't, I struggle with like, I don't want to sound like I'm like trying to do too much and like putting too much on the slide of like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do this.
This goes into our technical thesis, right? Our technical thesis is that you don't need your own foundational model to do this. Slingshot's like going down the wrong path. We're going to build on top of the existing foundational model players. And then we're going to build this kind of scaffolding on top of that. And some people will, they'll kind of disparage, oh, you're just a rapper. But I see lots of billion-dollar cursors a rapper, right?
Yeah.
On top of
I like the term sculpture better than rapper, because I think that it's like you're not just rapping, like you're sculpting down and you're building something more focused.
I mean,
that's doing
a rapper
something
on top of a database, right? So I see lots of great companies that are building on top of foundation models. So you should not be disparaged in that. So that's a good answer to Slingshot. And then the question I'm asking is like, how do you create the moat around free? right? Because if like if your alternative, the best alternative for me as a consumer is like just go to voice mode and ChatGPT and start talking to it. And then you have to maybe prove it with data or benchmarks. Is there a psychology or a therapist benchmark out there? You know how they have all these AI benchmarks out there?
Yeah, so it's actually it's pretty much the Wild West right now. But I think that where the answer really lands for like the why not use ChatGPT is going to be like the safety and the guardrails and
you guys should create your own benchmarks. You guys should be the thought leader of AI therapy benchmarks. So you're going to create your own benchmark, and it's going to have like hundreds of questions and answers on how to handle different situations, depression to bipolar to, you know, whatever you insert your favorite DSM classification, right? And
that's where it's interesting because I'm building more of what I would consider a wellness company, not therapy. And so I think my kind of view and my hunch is that AI therapy is not going to be a thing. I don't think that that's going to fly. I think that the therapist community has put a pretty hard line there. And that's when I was saying earlier around like, I think money can make you move.
With Uber, right? You know?
Yeah.
And look what happened
but I
there.
think that I think it's a little bit different because I think the therapists are kind of like authority and the trusted, the voice in the space. And so if you're trying to build something for mental health and you're adversarial with therapists, I think adoption and especially enterprise adoption, I think it's a little bit different because I just don't think they're completely analogous in terms of like just being able to plug and place taxis with, because I think there's just like a different authority component there. But like an example here was like Slingshot AI, they positioned AI therapy. They've now backed into AI for mental health. And I think that like they're still trying to figure out how to position, but I think because they've raised all that money to go after that market, I think there is just going to kind of be a limit to how much maneuverability they have based on what they raised and what they intended to do with that money.
Go back to your problem statement and your mission here. Okay. Because you see, you're positioning it as mental wellness. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. And maybe it's like mental coaching is a whole nother, you know, it's like wellness coaching would be a whole nother way of phrasing that. Yeah,
because I'm learning like a lot of mine is going to be like, I just filmed a brain education series that's going to live inside the app. So it's going to be more about, the way I think about it is like 1 in 5 people need like a mental health professional. I'm for the 5 out of 5 that just like have hard days sometimes. Like it's more of the, like I describe it as if therapy's a dentist, my app is brushing your teeth. Like it's like the daily, every person can benefit from it type tool. Not like if you have anxiety, you need to use this tool. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Cool. All right, let's keep going. What's the next one after opportunity? Cool. Go ahead.
So this is the app. This is the screenshots of the app. This was great feedback from Jayla. I didn't have it. It was live on the App Store with the downloads. I struggle with like putting a downloads number in when I know it's like not the greatest number, but like I've been so deliberately focused on like safety and building safety layers and getting all the safety right that I've been deliberately like not driving user acquisition. So from a VFT perspective, like is 200 plus better than nothing, or would nothing be no number on the slide be better?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't highlight 200 downloads. I would probably say like, you know, we're kind of alpha testing it right now. It is live, but it's like an alpha or beta. And then probably what I'd want to see is like your DAO over your WOW over your MAU. So like
I don't even know what those mean. Day over day.
DAO is your daily active users. WOW is your weekly active, and MAU is your monthly active. And then there's like kind of benchmarks for consumer apps on like what good looks like. Like I think Instagram's like 70% like WOW over MAU or something like that, which means 70% of their monthly users log in weekly.
And what if I'm not even tracking that yet?
That's fine. Let's start tracking it. Because like that VCs are going to ask, right? The good ones. They're going to say, great, what's your DAO? What's your WOW? What's your MAU? And then cool, what's your cost to install? What's your cost per install? Stuff like that. They're going to start asking tough questions.
Real quick on that question there. In a real meeting, Brian, if someone says that, like, my go-to answer, because I was in a new industry, didn't know what I was talking about with some of the industry knowledge, I would say, well, I'm looking for a partner who can help me refine, a lot of those things or whatever. What would be an answer where you feel like they know what they're talking about, but they transparently said they don't have all the answers?
I think honesty is always the best policy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Transparency and honesty is always like, VCs aren't going to, you obviously have you built a consumer app before?
No.
That's fine. Like a lot of people build $billion companies in spaces they know nothing about. Right. And so you just transparently, you just say,
that's been my default is just like, I'm not like, if I say I don't know and the VC's like, oh, this guy's an idiot, I'm not going to work with him. It's like, cool. Don't work with me.
No, that's totally fine. Like VC, what we're trying to do is I look at probably 1,000 companies a month, maybe 500, somewhere between those two numbers. And so what I'm trying to do as I look at a deck is I'm trying to go like, is it worth meeting this founder? And then as I meet the founder and they're walking me through the pitch, I'm like, okay, I have this framework in my mental framework of like, okay, is it a good team? Is it the right time for this? Does it have traction? What are the characteristics of that traction? And so I'm sort of like going down my mental checklist of like what great looks like, Is
that happening subconsciously, or do you think you kind of walk through do you have like a sheet and it down? Okay.
Oh yeah. I create a little Google Doc for every company I talk to, and it basically has a score across like 20 to 25 factors. And I'm literally keeping score as I talk to you, And if at any point there's too many red and yellow flags, I'll try to cut the meeting short because I have 100 other things to do. Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing that
you have to that's how VCs are. That's how we operate. We're just pattern recognizers. Really highly paid or lowly paid in my case, pattern recognizers, right?
And you're not taking the time to give them the feedback because you've got 50 other things to look at, right? So you're just kind of
it's nothing personal.
It's not their job, it's not their role, right? I think that's.
I have 50 or 60 startups reaching out for funding every day.
Yeah,
it's nothing personal, right?
But on the entrepreneur side, the problem is you're not knowing where you're getting dinged.
Yeah, and after this, as part of maybe the podcast, I have an AI on my pitch form. So if you go to my website and pitch us, there's a little AI you can drop your deck into with your LinkedIn profile. It'll give you like feedback with my framework. Like literally on the background, it has all the stuff I care about in the AI, like analyzing stuff, so we can run that output and give it to you after.
Yeah, because I think one thing that founders struggle with, I mean, I struggle with it, I think everyone does, like when you are looking to grow your business and you want to raise money, like there's this like asymmetry of power where you feel like, oh, this person has something. But the reality is like, I have something that you want if I have a great company that I'm building. And I heard something recently on somewhere, it was like, I think it was actually a clip from your podcast, Jayla. Just like the founder has to like come in on equal footing. But the reality is like, you've got a lot of opportunity that you're looking at. So it's like, it's not on you. Like, obviously I'm enjoying this and getting the feedback live, but like, that's not your job to give people feedback if they're not a fit. Like you've got so many other things to do. And so I think that's where like just not taking it personally is something that I would tell founders. If you're going through a pitch process, like a no is feedback, like you're getting information, but like, don't expect people to like solve your problems for you.
Totally. Yeah. So you got some screenshots here. It's live on the App Store. You might talk about reviews. That's something I would care about. You would also probably have links to the App Store and Google Play listing. Like if you're sending the deck to a VC, that way they can click, and I'll click and actually look at the reviews and see what people think so far. Now, if you don't have reviews, then probably don't link it. So something to consider. And then I would maybe even link like a demo video here. Like if you're sending the deck around to VCs, like, yeah, cool. I think that's enough on this slide.
Okay.
What's next?
Next slide. Solution.
Yeah. So this one, I just dive into where I really see this fitting in the landscape of what exists currently. And so this is where in a live pitch, I would go into, therapy, X $1 billion market, but all the things that you talked about, high stigma, barriers to entry in terms of costs, just a lot of things that are like, if you need it, it's the most amazing, it like changed my life, but for a lot of people, not accessible for a lot of different reasons. Journaling, I think, is phenomenal, but it's very much about like getting things out, them being on paper, them being saved, and you being able to go back and look at them. And then meditating is very solitary, processing what's on your mind, but it's not as engaging as something like journaling. And so where my tool fits, I view it as like right in the middle of all that, where it's engaging like a therapy because you're going back and forth. It's completely solitary and like disappears like meditating, but you're getting the benefits of getting things out like journaling. And so that's kind of where I came up with this idea of this Venn diagram. That's what's on the slide, is a Venn diagram of the different journaling, meditation, therapy, and then some quotes around use cases. You know, it's not a person, so you can say whatever you want. So kind of like positioning why AI is a value add in this situation. And then it doesn't add, it doesn't flood you with a wall of text, just some quotes that I found were indicative of what I was looking to accomplish with the kind of positioning.
Yeah, there's lots of different ideas here to discuss. And, none of these are, take all this with a grain of salt. None of this is like commandments. But there's two schools of thoughts on the title of the slide. There's one school of thought is like you should tell the user, the viewer, what they are looking at, the solution. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another school of thought is tell them what to think. Give them like it is the solution, but like tell them what they should think about the solution.
I think I like that more because I feel like it's like it kind of primes the brain to be like, oh, like a new approach to like this is the best way to approach this. Like a new approach to
it's a full integration between tools that work for mental health, right, or mental wellness.
Got it.
It's like some sort of integrative approach. And then these look like quotes. So I would include like the name of the person if you can, get permission for the name and picture, even a picture. Put some faces to like, I'm so great. I'm like feeling so great using this. That helps. And then the Venn diagram is cool. There's two ideas here. One is you can add logos for the unicorns that are sitting in each category of these, right? So you have the one that raised 94 million in the therapy category. You got like Calm and Headspace in the meditation category. I'm not sure on the journaling if there is a unicorn.
Yeah, there's actually like Rosebud, a company Rosebud just raised $12 million seed round to do AI journaling.
There you go. Yeah, so you can be like Rosebud. No, nobody knows who that is, by the way. But so you'd say Rosebud just raised 12 million.
No offense to Rosebud if you're listening.
Hey, no offense to Rosebud. I'm sure you're great. But 12 million. I mean, 30,000 companies get pre-Series A funding every year, right?
Yeah.
30,000, right? We don't even me who like lives in the pre-seed and like invests in 100 companies a year, like I can't keep up with all of them, right? So
for sure.
And then the other thing you could think about instead of the diagram is the 2x2, the classic 2x2.
Okay.
This one does this kind of thing well, and this one does this kind of thing well, but we do both well, up in the upper right-hand quadrant. That's a very typical slide I see with founders.
Cool.
Yep. Cool.
And then this is where, again, like reflective AI, that's where like, it's hard. And again, getting into this now because we're doing this, but like I'm envisioning a suite of products, specialized products for different use cases. So reflective AI is the category that I'm looking to build. And so Remy is the first example of that. The next one that I'm in the earliest stages of building right now is a first responder specific app. So an app designed specifically for first responders to unpack a call, their day, something that happened 10 years ago. And that kind of all fits under the reflective AI umbrella. This idea that I'm building AI that asks good questions instead of delivers good outputs. But again, I struggle with like having too many slides, seeming too scattered, trying to do too much, biting off more than you can chew. How do you counsel thinking about like that tension of like, I want to say all the things, but I also don't want someone to be like, oh my God, this guy's scattered all over the place.
Yes, that was the reaction I had when you're like, oh, and like this other use case, Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Like, well, you haven't even nailed this use case yet. So let's just not even worry about that, Because really what we're looking for, there's kind of two kinds of investors. Well, there's lots of different ones, but there's this kind that will look for great teams, pre-revenue, pre-product market fit, and they'll invest, right? A lot of accelerators do that, like Techstars and YC and others. And then there's this other kind of investor like me that I need a great team and I need the right timing and all these other things, but I want to see like you have traction towards the thing that towards the market you're trying to sell into. And so when you bring up another market or another use case, you're like, well, you haven't even nailed this one yet. So let's not talk about that one.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to completely pivot, and that's totally fine. You might pivot 5 more times on this idea before you actually find product market fit, and that's okay.
And that's where for me, like I felt that exactly, but like this specific use case, like the foundation is so much similar, like the infrastructure to the current app. And like there's such a need and a pulling me into like helping these people who really need it. And so it feels like the right business decision, but I feel like it might not be the best like business decision based on what you're describing around like 100% laser focused on getting traction where I'm mainly focused versus like building a business that I want to do what feels right. It's a weird kind of middle ground.
Yep, totally makes sense. All right, let's do the next one.
Cool. So the plan, I've got it in 2 columns, D2C and B2B, because I think that it is a 2-track strategy. Freemium model with premium saved threads and enterprise licensing. So, $10 a month to direct to consumer, selling that at a discount to employers to provide to all their employees. I've got different target markets for each channels that I'll use to reach those, and then the KPIs to measure the success of each of the channels.
There's an old phrase in military planning that no plan survives first encounter with the enemy. Yep. And no go-to-market plan survives first encounter with the market, right?
Yeah.
And that is totally the case here. Like you have no idea here, like how you're going to sell this thing until you start selling it. And that's probably the most important lesson, one of the big takeaways for you, because you haven't started charging for this yet, right?
Mm-hmm. No.
Start charging for it right away. See if people will pay for it. Go talk to all the people who are paying for it. Figure out why they paid for it. What was it about this app that just made their heart sing? Go find more people like that and do things that don't scale, right? That's what YC will kind of teach you, right?
Yeah.
Do things that don't scale, build shit that people want and charge for it immediately. Because you just really don't know if you have anything. Like there's a lot of people who just use free stuff, Yeah. And this is a big problem with consumer markets is they're just used to getting everything for free, which was back to my original objection with ChatGPT. Maybe I could just tell ChatGPT, hey, like here's this Venn diagram I saw on this guy's website. Can you just guide me like this through meditation and journaling and what was the third one?
Meditation, journaling, and therapy.
And therapy. Yeah. Can you just like assume the role of like, the name your favorite meditation teacher? Because they have all his or her writings, everything they've ever said in every podcast or YouTube interview. It's all ingested in the AI. So, hey, can you just assume the role of Pema Chodron or some Buddhist teacher and just kind of guide me through like how to think about this? Or, hey, I saw this really cool startup that raised $12 million called Rosebud. Here's their website. Can you just guide me through like the journaling process? That's the biggest thing right now that I see as a VC is like,
yeah, but I think that's assuming a fluency with these models that I think the average person just does not have. And so I think like for the general public, for the average user, what I'm delivering is they open the screen, they click, I want to talk something through. They say like, I think to your point, like if you're in that world and you know exactly how to prompt engineer, absolutely. But I think I'm in this like interesting spot where I'm building AI tools for people who maybe don't know how to use AI tools or don't want to use AI tools or don't think about them in that way. Because I think that's the thing. What I think is interesting about these general AI, like ChatGPT or Claude, is like in the right hands, they're unbelievable. But if you don't necessarily know how to navigate them well, it's very much like you get out what you put in my view. Yeah. And so I think with my tool, I'm really constraining.
Here's the existential risk though. And this is why I want you to kind of start charging for this and start finding product market fit as fast as you can, because AIs are getting 10x better every year.
Yeah.
Right. And pretty soon it'll read between the lines. It'll know that like you like this certain kind of philosophy.
But that's the assumption that bigger's better and they're going to keep getting better. And I think that might not necessarily be the case. I think there is a case to be made that the best of generative AI is here and that bigger is not necessarily going to get better, which I think would be.
I definitely don't believe that. I think we're throwing more compute than ever. The algorithms are getting better. and we're developing new methods to deliver intelligence everywhere. But I don't think we've reached the cap yet. Not even close. And
Yeah,
everybody that's in
depending,
that space would agree with me.
but they're very incentivized to agree with that.
Yeah, they just seen, like, you read situational awareness, the AI paper.
I have not.
Go read that. Yeah, go read situational awareness. So that was written like a year and a half ago, and everything he said in that paper is coming true. Right? We're getting what he calls OOMs in the paper, orders of magnitude better across multiple different vectors. One is compute, right? We're throwing a lot more compute. One is algorithms, and I'm forgetting the third one right now because I'm blanking, but we're basically getting crazy amounts of price performance increases that we have never seen in computing technology. We used to have Moore's law that would get like twice as good every 18 months. Now it's like Jensen's law, the CEO of NVIDIA, where it's getting 10x better, 100x better every year.
But there has to be a point of diminishing returns, right? There has to be. We
don't know what the ceiling of intelligence is in the universe, right?
Yeah.
Like you're anthropomorphizing like this like alien intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Real quick.
We're getting deep. We're getting deep.
Yeah. I could go pretty deep in the singularity stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a good question though on how much pushback is acceptable, Brian, and how much is like, looking for your expertise as the VC who has, a lot more experience in the AI space.
How much pushback from a founder?
Like, Shane is saying, well, I think this. Is that a good sign to you, or is that?
I think that's good.
Okay.
I think you should be opinionated. I think some of the best founders I backed, I walk away from the conversation like, that person's smarter than me. I should probably go work for that person. And I've worked with some incredible people
in a pitch. If I was like pitching, I don't think I would have. I think this is a little bit different.
We're having
context.
A conversation. It's a little different. Yeah. You would actually kind of go through the pitch, and that I would ask questions, and I wouldn't be trying to beat up your deck as much as I am. Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for your benefit,
but I think it is
audience's benefit.
Yeah, it's an important kind of just taking a step back and understanding, how much.
Yeah, I think if a VC says something and you're kind of caught off guard, you'd be like, "What do you mean by that?" I'm sorry. Like
so,
you said,
I was gonna say. So when you say, no one survives their first encounter with their market. So like, are you basically saying like, don't even have this slide because you don't even really know yet, or is it just like it's too speculative?
Yeah, it's too speculative. Yeah, it's almost like don't have it, right?
Then you're going to get asked like, how are you going to get to market? What's your plan to distribute?
Honestly, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Here are some ideas. What I would do is like, I would show part of what VCs are looking for is like, you're a fast learner, and you have a high iterative cycle, a high hertz.
It's like experiments I'm running. Here are the experiments I'm going to run.
Yeah, here's what we've done so far to grow. And here's what's working. Here's like a list of things we've tried. Here's what we've learned from them. Here's where we're leaning in. Here's where we're leaning out. And here's like our backlog of like experiments we want to run. That's a lot better slide than, hey, I think we'll do this, Yeah. It's like, no, like here's what we've learned so far. I'd be like, I very rarely see that, by the way. So that would be a very incredible slide.
Yeah. It's like, here's what I've tried. Here's what I've learned. Here's the experiments I want to run. Here's what your money allows me to run. Like exactly like not as much here's the plan, but here's like, here's the plan of finding out the plan.
I put $1,000 of my own money over the last, n number of months against these kind of like things. And here's what I've seen work so far. And here's what I think can work if I like press on the gas a little bit in terms of position.
Yeah. The other thing is this just kind of encompasses almost everything. So yeah, I think it is a little bit too broad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one.
Yeah. So on this slide, I highlight the raise, $500,000 pre-seed round. Curious there, like if it's a safe, do you recommend like putting the safe terms? Is that something that's negotiable? Just leaving it at what it is?
I'll ask, hey, what's the valuation? And you'll say X. And I'll be like, great. How much is committed to X? You'll be like, nothing, or half of it, or all of it.
Yeah.
We're really good at figuring that stuff out very quickly.
Yeah.
So you should have a milestone here. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, then I have the phase goal, which is kind of like the bigger picture goal, like kind of like on a philosophical level, specifically like use of funds, what we're going to use the money for, and then the milestones that we would use to check that we've been succeeding on the goals.
So you don't have a technical teammate now?
I do not.
Okay, that'd be a yellow flag, because most successful companies have a strong technical co-founder. So that's like your first test, is go get like a technical co-founder who's a badass coder that's going to leave their job at, name your favorite company, to risk their whole livelihood and future on building this with you.
What if I just I feel like the app can be good enough to go find out so much before I would need to bring someone in full time?
No, you guys don't have anything yet. You just have some ideas on a slide. So like, and like an app with 200 downloads. So you got to get a technical co-founder now that can help you move fast and break things, right? To use a meta terminology, but that's going to be one of the biggest things. You wouldn't get into YC without a technical co-founder, right? And there's a reason for that. They backed over 5,000 startups. They have the data that shows that having co-founders with complementary skills, and even if you could get a designer co-founder, and even if you could get like a PhD in mental wellness co-founder.
Yeah.
Like if you had like 3 really good, like you and 2 other co-founders have complementary skill sets, you're the CEO, right? You're the one out there pitching, raising money, selling. But now you actually kind of need 2 technical founders here. You need the CTO,
the AI,
and then you need kind of the wellness person, who's like an expert, PhD level, at least a master's degree, credentialed person. And then you could really go tackle the market.
See, but that's where I struggle with, like, if I lean too into like having a PhD, then I'm getting back into that mental health, more clinical world, where if I don't have that, and I have like an advisory board.
Yeah, get somebody. So the next slide is team. Let's look at the team slide, which I think should be.
So these are they're contractors. So I struggle with how to position them as a team. But I have Rachel Dralos. She has her PhD and her MD. So PhD in computer science, MD. She helped me build. She built the model and built the backend infrastructure. I have a team. Marcos leads my in-app development team, or app development. Gene is my designer. I have PR positioning consultant, creative and social media consultant.
I wouldn't say the team contractors here. I would just take out contractors. It'll come up in due diligence. If I'm curious, I'll ask. I understand that you're really early, so I would assume nobody's full time, because you actually say full time here under your name. And I think given that you said full time under your name, that's perfectly good. What I would do is, teams like this early, a lot of VCs care about the team a lot. And so you're going to have to probably create a slide that says, why is Shane Pope so awesome? Right?
Yeah.
What's special about you? What did you overcome in your life? Oh, you won the math Olympiad at 15, or like whatever it is. Whatever's like really cool and special about you. Oh, I had like a Minecraft server at 14 and my parents thought I was dealing drugs. That was literally one of my founders. I was hilarious. Like, that's a really cool story, So you're going to have like something like that, especially if you're sending this deck around to VCs and they're just they're like, cool, Shane Pope, I don't even know who you are. There's no LinkedIn link.
Yeah. So I know I've struggled with like how to, I wasn't sure, like, do I try to sell myself, or is that like something you save for when you get to meet them? Like, I think and Jayla and I talked about this in the last podcast of like, should you have 2 decks, like one that you send and one that you pitch with, or like, because I think that if I were to talk over a slide, then I would. So you think just like have the deck and then just be able to talk over it to add more color, but it should be a standalone asset. You got to have
like the walking deck and the pitch deck has to be the same. So it's like, it's a deck that I can read and want to meet with you, and then also a deck you can pitch from. And then you can have some appendix slides for kind of questions that keep coming up, and then you can pull it into the main slide. And then I would actually put your team slide at the beginning and try to tell me why each of these people are amazing, including yourself, right? It could
like
just
with
be
bullet points, like a couple bullet points.
Yeah, two or three bullet points, 25 words, 25 to 35 words each. Why is Rachel so awesome at AI model development? Because I want to walk away thinking like, wow, that's cool. And then the next question is going to be, oh, is she going to go full time after this raise? Who's going to go full time on this slide? after you raise, right? That's why it's so important to have that technical co-founder, because once you get to call it 20,000 of monthly recurring revenue, which isn't that much, it's probably 1,000 people paying you $20 a month. You're built alive. And if you have a technical co-founder, you can do a lot. You guys can do a lot of damage in a good way between a badass CTO that knows how to code and design and get shit done, and you, the CEO.
Yeah.
Really
that's one thing that I think that's what I like with AI now. What you can do with limited amounts of money is insane. Like, it's absolutely insane. And so that's where it's like my burn rate is low. I can be really strategic because the resources are out there and the tools are out there to make a lot of progress in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Cool. Let me go through my framework and think about things that weren't covered. We talked about retention. Did you have a why now slide? There was kind of like
I didn't. I had it in the deck before, and I think Jayla and I talked about maybe pulling it because it was a little bit redundant of the problem.
I like the why now slide. And it's kind of the same thing as the problem, but the problem is like, hey, it's a lot of friction. It's a big problem. Lots of people have it. The why now is like, oh, now is the perfect time to solve it. Oh, and by the way, here's the solution. That's the third slide, right?
Yeah.
So you got to tell people what to think. You we're redefining. One of the things you said that I thought was good is like, hey, we're creating a new category, and the category is like in the center of this diagram. So it's category defining. It's like it's in my framework. Obviously, you're going to want to show demo. We don't have time to do that in the pod, but I'm going to want to see a demo, and it's going to want to wow me. There's like this aspect of the competitive moat, the durability, or the secret sauce. So far, I haven't heard a secret sauce or a moat. You're going to have to like work on that. Think about like what's really unique about what we're doing in the secret sauce. You had a GTM slide, but it doesn't show me that you have an advantage. So one of the questions I'll commonly ask is like, what's your distribution wedge? How are you going to go acquire customers?
And that's the thing. I think I'm underselling like the fact that my background is B2B benefits. Like, I know I have contacts in B2B benefits. I've sold B2B benefits. I have contacts at cool companies in benefits that are helping me shape this. Like, I need to lean way more into like, that's why I'm going this route.
You're touching on something really super important about slide deck creation, is having kind of pieces that kind of weave throughout the story. Like if you set that up with like, hey, let me tell you about Shane, right? Blah, 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 and then so you've primed my brain for like
I've primed you that like this is my domain. So if you're seeing gaps in other places, it's because this is my domain. Whereas right now, I kind of just like, we just went through all this and you just now figured this out. And I bet like, oh, that's making a little more sense if I knew like, and that's the last thing you want.
Let me tell you about me. Let me tell you about what's special about me. In so many words, I wouldn't say that, but you just say,
here's my resume.
Maybe like a why now, why me slide. And secret sauce all kind of highlighted there would be pretty
And then if you go back to the milestones.
Where was that?
Second to last slide.
Yeah, it's like slide 8.
Backward. Yep.
Grow the team is not a milestone. It's like a use of funds. Sign annual contracts for 5 enterprise partners for how much, right? Like how much? Like I guess what I'm trying to say here is like quantify the business outcome of the 500K, and really it should be $1 million of ARR. Honestly, that's what world class looks like. I raised 500K and I got to $1 million.
Okay, that's good to know.
If you could bootstrap this thing, if you can get a technical co-founder, bootstrap it to 20,000 a month of recurring revenue, you could probably go out and raise 1 on 10 or even 1 on 20, especially if that technical co-founder is a badass AI person, right?
Would there be an AI person who also would be able to do the app development stuff too? Like, is that?
Yeah, you get a full stack.
They're cross-disciplinary, right?
That's probably what you're going to have to get, because all the AI people are getting, multi-million-dollar like MBA level.
And there's back to my whole hunch on AI, like there's so much I can do within the constraints of the models that I'm building on in my world and what I'm building. Like, I don't need to be upgrading to the frontier models at all. That like, there's so much I think like the models are so powerful that there is so much that can be done.
I really like
in
the
the
idea of like, get
infrastructure.
somebody who knows enough about machine learning that can do the evals. And the
Mhm.
evals are benchmarks that you can evaluate your finely tuned model that's off the
Mhm.
shelf from some open source or closed end provider like Anthropic or ChatGPT or
Yeah.
even Gemini. And you're like, hey, we've kind of fine tuned this off the shelf model, and we've gotten up to like, a 76 score in this benchmark versus a 37 score
Mhm.
the model, right? And that way you have like, I'm like, cool, like you guys have thought about this, right? Thought
Mhm.
about how to do this. A vision slide, I think, is warranted here. What's your long-term vision? Like if you're really successful and you build everything that you want to do in 10 years, this mission's not enough. I would say the vision, and paint me a picture
Yeah.
for like what success looks like 10 or 15 years down the line. You're ringing the NASDAQ
Got it.
bell.
So really sell the like best case.
Oh
like
yeah.
if this goes how I'm really envisioning it, this is where we are.
Yep. Boom, boom. And
I like
that's
that.
all I had. Happy to answer questions in the last few minutes.
Yeah, Jayla, I'd be fascinated your perspective. That was like so fun. I love I love this stuff. This was so helpful. So that was cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Getting someone's insight who knows the space is so critical. And so what's going through my head is, how could you have gotten this feedback, 3 months ago, right? So what would be the approach before you're even ready to pitch someone to actually raise money? How could you have gotten that feedback? Because if you'd started looking for a technical co-founder 3 months ago, not to say you're behind, because who
Mhm.
cares? It is
Yeah.
what it is. Nothing's, like, you're fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know, any thoughts there, Brian, on how he could have gotten, more feedback from somebody with kind of your perspective of the market and the background?
Yeah, I mean, you could use my AI on my pitch form, right? It has my framework, which is like this 4,000 word framework I've built up over thousands of iterations of successes and failures. That's a pretty good way. You could do the TechCrunch deck teardowns and kind of see what other successful fundraisers and startups have used in the past, and then plug your deck into ChatGPT and say, hey, assume the role of a YC partner, review my deck and give me feedback. And tell me what I'm missing and what's good and what's bad about it.
I think the challenge there is that some people can just you can overspin on that, because you could put it in one model. It could give you all this feedback. You could change everything to exactly what it says, put it in another model. It tells you 12 other things to change. And so I do think there's also something for figuring out how to get in front of real people, like reaching out on LinkedIn, asking for advice, go out of your way to actually, because you can't replicate. These tools are phenomenal and they are a great place to start, but there's no AI tool in the world that would have given me what Brian just gave me. And so I think
what I'll do, I'm pitching for money just like you, right? I go out and raise money and I get pitched for money. So I'm on both sides of the equation. What I just did, I just went through a riff on my deck, which I got a bunch of feedback. I plugged it all into ChatGPT and I uploaded the deck, and I was like, here's all the feedback I'm hearing. Go through my deck and, let me know what I need to change. And we did. We just went through iteration after iteration. It took me 5 or 6 hours. Okay, now review it again. Here's all the feedback I got. Create a project with all the feedback. So I have notes from all the slide level feedback, and then I just kind of kept riffing on it until it's like, no, it's perfect now. And it takes a lot of iteration. And yeah, like you said, AI is not perfect. It's going to make some suggestions that are boneheaded. And you'd be like, actually, now take another look at the slide. It has too many words. How do we simplify it?
And then do you agree? And I think I believe this in my gut, it makes sense. But it's if my DAO, MAO, and TAO were unreal and I had MRR, this stuff is a lot less important if the numbers of the business are going in the right direction, right? This stuff has a lot more scrutiny on it when you're trying to sell an idea, when you're trying to, but if you've got the numbers, if you can go bootstrap your way to numbers and the numbers are legit and they pass due diligence, VCs won't give a shit what your deck looks like if you can show that you're
if you have an up
doing
into the right
it, right?
revenue chart, right? And your churn is 0 and your net revenue retention is 120, 140%, and your CAC is super low. We'll rationalize to no end, all the other stuff, right? Oh, wow. You're growing 100% a month. Cool. And I start rationalizing all the other stuff, because clearly you found something. So I think that's a key insight, right? That's why like a lot of people in your situation, I recommend get a technical co-founder, any technical co-founder, anybody that you can convince to join you full time. Go to an accelerator, right? Because you've never raised VC before, right?
No.
Yeah, 100% go to an accelerator. There's so many unknown unknowns that you don't know about, and get into the most reputable one that you can. There's a ton of them: Plug and Play, 500, IC, Techstars, HF0 in the Bay Area, and a bunch of others I'm forgetting. Sorry. Oh, Alchemist. Sorry, Alchemist. There's a lot of really good ones, right? So just get into any accelerator, and they're going to give you 100K, 200K to get going. You're going to have money in the bank, and they're going to give you this 12 to 16 week program that gets you fundraising ready. And I 100% recommend that. I went through an accelerator when I raised my first venture fund.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm a huge fan of accelerators. Like half of the deals we do, maybe 70%, are companies coming out of accelerators. Gotcha. It's like,
the model works. That's cool.
Yeah. Like, could you, learn how to, I don't know, paint without going to school? Yeah, sure. You could probably teach yourself how to paint, but like, are you going to go further faster in painting, or name your favorite subject by going to school and learning? And an accelerator is just like a 3 or 4 month school to learn how to scale a startup and raise money.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Anyway, have to run. I really enjoyed it.
Amazing. Thank you, Brian. That was great. Thank you, Shane, for being open to putting it out there. Super fun.
Yeah. Very vulnerable. Good for you, man. You're getting out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the podcast with your deck. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
I think a lot of founders get a lot of value from it.
I think so too. That was really cool. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate the back and forth. That was fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Seed Money, and especially thank you for sharing the show with other people. Every time you share the show, you're helping someone turn their idea into reality. If you've enjoyed listening, the best thank you is to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It not only helps give me feedback for what kind of information you need, but it helps the show reach more people just like you so they can start their business, raise capital, and get the funding they need. And stay tuned for the next episode of Seed Money.